We have finally reached late 2011, which is an odd year for Apple because for the past 4 years, every year in June, there's been a new iPhone, including this one, the iPhone 4, which came out in June of 2010. And this year, in June, WWDC happened, but no new iPhone. So that's weird. But in March of 2011, the iPad 2 came out with the A5 chip. It's the first dual-core processor. It's a lot faster, and judging by the trends of iPhone getting the chip after the iPad, there's going to be an A5 iPhone. So after the iPhone 4, maybe the extra 4-month wait is for this mythical new iPhone 5, because it's the 5th generation iPhone. It's gonna do all sorts of crazy stuff. It's gonna have a brand new redesign, and maybe, just maybe, they can ship a white color day one, which didn't happen with the iPhone 4. In fact, it took them basically almost until the end of the iPhone 4 life cycle for them to get a white front glass version of the iPhone 4 out, but by then it's already out. So maybe iPhone 5? Well, we have arrived in October of 2011, which is 16 months since the launch of the iPhone 4. And for this year's iPhone, finally an event. And finally, they unveiled a brand new iPhone. And finally, they unveiled this. This looks just like that thing. This is the iPhone 4S. Oh my God. So yep, today we are going to talk about the iPhone 4S, and yes, it looks just like the iPhone 4 actually. You know what, let me just bring back the iPhone 4. Yeah, you can see why people are, a little bit disappointed, maybe an understatement, but yeah, wait 16 months for this? Well, yep, this is what you get. This is the iPhone 4S. But there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, but I really have to compare it with the iPhone 4. Okay, so the volume buttons shifted. There seems to be a new antenna line. New antenna line at the top here, which doesn't happen here. No antenna line at the top. And nothing changed at the bottom. But yeah, they look basically identical. And the antenna line is how you distinguish between the iPhone 4 and 4S. So if there's no antenna line here and you can see the buttons are more spread out, then it's a GSM iPhone 4. In fact, yeah, towards the latter half of the iPhone 4's life, it adopted this iPhone 4S design language of having an extra band here and extra band here. This is after antenna gate, so I would assume some of it has to do with antenna gate and some of it has to do with the special CDMA Verizon model of the iPhone 4S, which does not have the SIM slot. So if you see a SIM slot, this is a GSM model. But yeah, the iPhone 4S, not the world-changing, not the blow-your-socks-off iPhone 5. It is just the S model, kind of like the 3GS to the 3G, where the appearance looks mostly the same. But of course, it's what's inside that counts. So remember, I talked about the A5 chip in the iPad 2. Well, it is now in the iPhone 4S. So dual-core processor, and of course, you get the same performance gain. So twice as fast in the CPU, twice as fast in the GPU. And yeah, there are even more improvements with the iPhone 4S. So namely, I'm going to start with the camera here, which now is capable of recording 1080p video, but there we go, wrong button. But an 8 megapixel photo. So I'm going to take one here, and 1080p video. So this is 1080p video that you're seeing here that is up from the 720p video of, the iPhone 4. So the camera got a massive upgrade. Okay, that's cool. So you get the A5 chip, you get the camera upgrade to the back camera, and it also fixes, of course, the antenna gate. So I want to talk about the situation with the antennas. Now, previously, the iPhone 4 has this like 3-band system. So you have 1, 2, and 3 gaps, and altogether it comprises the entire wireless system. So not only does it do GSM, but also just other things like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And the same thing happens here, but now you have 4 slots. Now, after the antenna gate issue, where if you grip the phone too hard, you'll lose cell signal, this seems to have been resolved with the iPhone 4S because of the redesigned antennas, and because this new design of the antennas also happened in the iPhone 4. So confusingly, you have iPhone 4 models that look just like this. It seemed to have resolved itself on that particular model of iPhone 4, the CDMA version of the iPhone 4. And it seemed to resolve itself on the iPhone 4S just as much. Now, an extra thing I want to talk about is the fact that this is a world phone. So I talked about the iPhone 4 having a GSM and a CDMA model. In the iPhone 4S, it is still the same phone. So you get the same phone, but it's now called a world phone, which both GSM and CDMA could use the same model of phone. So you don't need 2 models of distinct phone, and then one phone can only do GSM, the other have to do CDMA. So if you want to bring your AT&T iPhone over to Verizon, you're kind of SOL. This does not happen on the iPhone 4S, which is a lot better. But still, I cannot get out of my mind how much of a disappointment back in 2011 when it's not an iPhone 5 that will come later. Instead, it's just an iPhone 4S. But it does now a lot faster. It has a new lens, right? Of course, right? 1080p video, 8 megapixel camera. So you get all of the fun stuff. And of course, features of iOS 5. So let's take away the iPhone 4. Now, before I have to go through the entire feature set of iOS 5, I want to talk about what you won't really encounter when using iOS 5, which is PC free. Now, up until the iPhone 4S, you would have to connect your iOS device. So when you buy it new or when you've restored it, you would have to connect it to iTunes. So you have to bring the cable and then plug it into iTunes. Now, with iOS 5, you no longer have to plug it into a computer. It's called PC free, and you can just set up your device right on the device. You don't need the assistance of a computer, which is a lot better because, they keep talking about how it's a post-PC product, post-PC product, post-PC product, but you still need to rely on a PC. Now you no longer have to. So any device that has iOS 5 can just set up on the device. So one of the very first devices is this iPhone 4S. And of course, if you update your other devices to iOS 5, so you have an iPad 2, you can do that as well. Now, deeply embedded within iOS 5 is this thing called iCloud. Now, iCloud, right, you already know what iCloud is, right? It syncs all of your photos, documents and data, your app backups. If you use like text messaging apps, right, third-party apps, then you get their backups as well. So it backs up everything, right? And then now you have iCloud Music Library. So it's the very first incarnation of iCloud that appeared on iOS 5. In fact, on the box of these iPhone 4Ss and the later iPad, which launched with iOS 5, it proudly advertises iCloud on the box. It's one of the last things that Steve Jobs has announced. I think it really is the last thing that he announced publicly on stage at WWDC 2011. But again, no iPhone then, and get an iPhone here. Now, a couple of things that everyone else using iOS 5 will get. So you get the Reminders app, which allows you to type in a reminder. So I'm going to say test, or maybe I shouldn't delete that. There we go, and hit done. And then I can just check it off, of course. But I can also have it remind me on a day or a location. I can turn that on, and then let's say Sunday at 11, and then I can set it and check it off, and that's it. So that's the Reminders app. There's also the Newsstand app, which is a lot more useful on the iPad than it is the iPhone, because of the larger screen. But you know, magazines, newspapers, you get to read them just like the iBooks app on iOS 4. Now, on the iPhone, and this is pertaining to the iPhone 4S. Now, previously, I have my iPhone 4 here ready to go. There's the iPod app, right, which consolidates a bunch of features into one app. So you have playlists, artists, but I want to look at songs, videos, and then I think podcasts are in there. Yep, there you go, podcasts. Now, in iOS 5, it's broken into multiple apps, so there's no longer one iPod app. Now, this will come to the iPad later, but it happened to the iPhone. Now, the iPod Touch. You know what? Let me just show you the iPod Touch. Now, the iPod Touch, I'm going to unlock it. There we go. You can see that this is on iOS 4. This is the iPod Touch 4th gen. And you can see that music, videos, they're all separate apps. There's never been an iPod app. In fact, if I could show you the very first iPod Touch, see how all the apps are separate. There you go. Yeah, so with iOS 5, you get all these apps separately. So there you go. Music, videos. Finally, it's unified with the experience on the iPods for the longest time. So there you go. Videos have moved. Right? So music, TV shows, music videos are now in the Videos app. So that's a lot of iOS 5. What else is new? Yes, that's right. Notification Center. So notifications will come into this page, and you can open it in any app. So let's say I want to go to the App Store. I can open up Notification Center. I can have, or maybe go into Game Center. I swipe down here, right? Weather and stocks. Of course, notifications got to come here. Also, too, if I have a lock screen, now, previously in iOS 4, it's just a little blue bubble, and then you can't go to the notifications. Now you can just go to a notification directly from the lock screen. If you miss them, it goes into Notification Center. Messages now has this new thing called iMessage, which is fantastic because texting used to be paid for a lot of different countries. In the US, it's usually included in your data plan, but in other countries, it used to be paid. But if you have an Apple ID with your iPad or your iPod Touch, and they're all running iOS 5, you can just iMessage them for free, and then you get blue bubbles. Also, on the iPhone 4S, and this is just for the iPhone 4S, you get dictation. But to show you dictation, I actually need to grab another iPhone, because this, you may have noticed, and this is an eagle-eyed viewer, that this is iOS 5, but it conspicuously does not have a camera shortcut. Okay, so while editing this video, I realized I forgot to mention that there is a camera shortcut on 5.0 of iOS 5. You just have to double-click the home button to show the camera shortcut, and then you can just tap and go inside the camera. And of course, you can hit the volume up button to take a photo. Yeah, engage the flash because it's way too dark. Here is an iPhone 4S with the camera shortcut, also running iOS 5. This means that this is 5.1. And now, in 2024, if I want to show you anything related to the voice that uses Apple servers, I actually have to use 5.1. I can't use 5.0 because the servers are dead. So let me just show you. So I will open up messages. There you go. And I have this new button here, dictation. So dictation, what does that mean? Basically, it means you speak whatever you want to type, and I'll just type it for you. So I'm just going to hit the mic icon here. And watch what happens when I hit the mic icon on the white model. There you go. It drops off, even though it's connected to Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, on this model, it's just fine. And I venture to guess, if I were to continue to speak, comma, I would get some words out on the other end, period. Yeah, you have to. There we are. Some work done. Not great, but you also have to enunciate your own punctuation. So that's exclusive to the iPhone 4S. And of course, it leads us directly to the very, very last and arguably the most major feature in the iPhone 4S, right? And I have to show it to you with this black iPhone 4S. So, well, let me just hold down the home button. What is the time in Berlin?
It's 3:46 p.m. in Berlin, Germany.
There you go. That's right. Siri came out here on the iPhone 4S with iOS 5 and exclusive to the iPhone 4S. In fact, the iPad 3, which will come out in a few months, foreshadowing, also would not get Siri for some reason. But yeah, there you go. Simple language. You don't really have to remember anything, so I can ask, well, whatever, basically. I can just talk to Siri. When is Christmas Day?
Christmas Day is on Wednesday, December 25th, 2024.
There you go. So, natural language. Of course, right, the big draw to Siri is that you can say something like, tell me a joke.
What kind of sugar does Lady Gaga put in her coffee? Raw, raw, raw.
Yeah, it's the very first version of Siri, so it is kind of, it uses the Samantha voice you get if you are on a Mac and you're trying to use text to speech. That's the voice. There's no special voice for Siri, there's no extra stuff. It's just, the original Siri voice. And it can do a lot of things, so I can ask, what can you do? Yeah, it's stuck here. So let me just illustrate that. Now I gotta do a lot of these things. All right, so I can call somebody, play some music, text people, calendar. I can set reminders, maps and directions, right? US only, email, weather, stocks. Use the clock app, contacts, notes, Google search, and Wolfram Alpha. Unfortunately, a lot of these they have to use their own servers. And so a lot of these, so Siri is actually broken up into multiple servers that each power like one or multiple of these features. So all these features are all segmented. And as soon as Siri catches like, oh yeah, do I need a raincoat for weather? It sends it to an appropriate server. So that's why when I ask, what is the weather in Frankfurt?
Searching the web for what is the...
You can see it doesn't work, right? You intuitively know that, it should have had the weather service, but it just doesn't because the server just dropped off. But, if I ask, what time is it in Frankfurt?
It's 3:48 p.m.
It works.
in Frankfurt, Germany.
So, yeah, unfortunately, Siri, if you want to use it in 2024, the original Siri, it's not going to work very well because of all of the servers, but there you go. And also only works on the 5.1 because on 5.0 there's this thing called a certificate issue. So if I try to ask the same thing, there you go. I couldn't even ask anything because it's just refused to listen to me.
I'm really sorry about this, but I can't take any requests right now. Please try again in a little while.
But yeah, there it is. So yeah, that's basically, the iPhone 4S and iOS 5 in brief, even though it's over quite a few minutes. But again, hope you enjoyed like the nice trip here. The iPhone 4S, of course, right? It gets a lot of the A5 things. So it does do the HDMI out, which I did not mention, for the iPad 2. So there's the adapter you can get HDMI out and exactly mirror it to your HDTV. So no Apple TV required, where previously you do need an Apple TV for that. But just hook up any HDMI TV and it works. And of course, right, you get things like GarageBand that also works here. iMovie also works here. So there you go, A5. And really, it's hard pressed for me to say it's disappointing because, as you can see, there's also a bunch of quality of life features. So you get Siri, you get much better camera, you get much faster performance, but, people want the iPhone 5. But yeah, that's the iPhone 4S. So there you go. You know what? Here's the white one. I think you'll appreciate the flagship color alongside the black one. There we are. So yeah, that's the iPhone 4S. I hope you enjoyed. And coming up, but this is subject to delivery because I did have an iPad 3. In fact, just to prove it to you, I'll show you. There you go. It's the iPad 3. But, well, it exploded internally. You can see the display got distorted here first time because of the expanding battery. So I'm ordering a replacement, and so that video will come out when it comes out. If it doesn't deliver in time, I will have other videos for you. But yeah, hope you enjoy the iPhone 4S, and I can't wait to talk about the iPad 3, by the way, because it is so interesting. But I do hope you enjoyed.